Test your tools before testing your people. These digital tools are here to make your life easy. It's not going to replace you.
Joining us today is Maulik Chauhan, the founder and managing director of Trestle Research, a technology-driven enterprise that supports organizations in collecting high-quality data to drive social impact.
Pilots are mandatory and non-negotiable because you have to know in two fronts.
Welcome to Survey and Beyond, the data collection podcast by SurveyCTO. I'm your host, Marta Costa. Each episode brings you expert tips, tools, and insights to make data collection smarter, safer, and easier. Let's dive in. Joining us today is Maulik Chauhan, the founder and managing director of Trestle Research, a technology-driven enterprise that supports organizations in collecting high-quality data to drive social impact. As the India lead of SurveyCTO, Maulik plays a key role in expanding platforms' use across the country. His story has been featured in a new anthology called The Spark Within, True Stories of Ordinary People Igniting Extraordinary Social Change, which highlights 30 inspiring changemakers from across India. Welcome, Maulik, to our podcast. It's a pleasure to have you here again.
Thank you so much, Martha. Again, very much pleasure to be here in done this platform again. So happy.
Yeah, so previously, a few months ago, you joined us to talk about transitioning to digital data collection, which is really your expertise. And I know that recently you have been very busy, you have been presenting in a lot of conferences, you have been conducting a lot of trainings. So we invited you to come back again so that we can go a few layers deeper into this process of adopting a new digital tool. And what I really want to discuss with you today is about training and upskilling new teams, new data collection teams. And this makes sense in many different contexts, I would say. So, one is a team that were conducting paper-based data collection and are thinking about adopting a new digital data collection tool to start the digitization, so completely new process in their team. But it is also important when they are already conducting digital data collection, but they want to adopt a new digital tool, and the team maybe might not be very tech savvy. And in other contexts, perhaps specifically international organizations that have multiple teams around the world and they have a significant staff turnover. So they need to think about continuously or permanently train new staff that's coming into their digital data collection processes. So to kick off our conversation, my first question is when you have such a challenge of training a new team or training a team to adopt a new digital data collection tool, do you have any specific guiding philosophy?
Oh, thank you so much again, Martha. A very interesting question. Guiding philosophy. See, I am very straightforward person. I want to keep things very simple. So for me, like if I'm training or teaching a tool or a software, basically like my focus is about shifting a mindset. And my philosophy is basically like, because usually the trainings what we are doing is with the field teams, right? Program teams, M&E teams. So I want to be with I want to be like them, right? So my philosophy is like to be like them, and like no basic philosophy is like respect and empathy, right? Many times like we see that these field teams, program teams, they work closely with the communities, right? They do amazing work, but they do not have much exposure with technology, right? Because they are most of the time they are in the field, right? So I start with respect and empathy, right? I The first philosophy that I I do with them is basically like talking to them that, hey, like these digital tools are here to make your lives easy, right? It's not going to replace you, right? So I start with that mindset, right? I make things very simple for them, right? I have to give one example. A couple of months back, like I was doing a training in a village in India, and there was one free team member to whom I was doing this training, and like that guy was maybe in his 50s, and like he was saying me, Malik, like, no, I'm collecting pen and paper data since 15-20 years, right? Why should I move to tablet or mobile, right? So when I showed them on the tablet, like I designed the SurveyCTO form on tablet, and I showed them that, hey, like we enter a date, birth date, and it will automatically calculate the age of the person, right? When I showed them that, hey, like, no, you don't need to remember so many things in a like a paper survey. If you say no, all the questions will automatically skipped, right? Only the relevant questions will appear on the screen. So that guy was like so much like passionate. Like he thought, oh wow, that's so awesome, right? So, and you won't believe, with this simple philosophy of making things easier, that particular person on the next day he actually started teaching others. So it's so simple thing, right? So if you start training, when you train the field teams and make things simpler for them, right, then you can see tremendous results. So basically, it's the power of patience and respectful training. And see, we have to understand one thing, that technical trainings are always difficult. They are always complex, right? It's not 1 plus 1 equal to 2. It's not that easy, right? But if we start training with very simple things, we focus more them on the on the basic principles, then I think it can make wonders. If I were to give one example, this example I usually is the first example that I always take in on all my trainings. I give the example of driving a car, right? If you remember, when you started learning your first car, right? You know, it would have taken huge amount of time to learn that first car, right? Right. But when you move to new car, after learning that car, when you move to new car, right? It would could have been taken maybe like 1 day or 2 day. The first learning experience was like 3 months. Now it's 1 day or 2 day. So my philosophy is I am focusing on the basic principles, right? Suppose when I give the example of driving a car, you know, irrespective whatever car you are using in the world, the basic principles will always remain same: the steering, the accelerator, brakes, right? How to drive a car, right? So my thought process is like asking them, making them feel good that yes, things are simpler, right? You just need to understand the basic principles. Even if you use SurveyCTO or XYZ platform, once you learn the basic principles, moving from one platform to another platform will be super easy for you, right? So basically, like, I start with this, I would say, like, this respectful patient training, making things simpler for them, like making them understand that how you can easily adapt digital tools for your data collection. So I think that's something around the guiding philosophy.
That's such an important aspect of it, I think. I can relate to that a lot. And I think my next question, which is very related to this, you were talking about how important it is to have that relation, that connection with people, that empathy, understanding where they are coming from, understanding, their struggles. Really, what we are doing is trying to make their life easier. That's our job, right? So I wonder, do you have any specific process of how do you understand who your audience is? Because that feels very important in a training. If you want to shift that mindset, if you want to make that connection, you really need to understand who your audience is. So how do you do this?
See, usually for me, I think first the audience comes, then the solution, then the technology platform, right? So previously we were always thinking about like first talking about the platform and then trying to find the audience. But as per my experience, I'm first finding the audience, and then I'm finding the solution. Right. Basically, I would give one or two examples. So recently, I was attending a conference in Sri Lanka. It was an M&E conference where like many organizations from South Asian countries came, and I was just talking to them and just asking them that, no, what are the problems you are facing related to data and all those things. And almost everyone was saying that, hey, like there is no problem. No, we are having smoother data collection. Everything is perfect. Once I started deep diving into it, right, that how you are collecting data, how you are ensuring you are sitting, let's say, in this capital of your country, and your work is happening across different villages, right, around that capital. How you are ensuring that whatever work they are doing is like high quality data. How you are monitoring them, right? Do you have any, do you have any document where you are mentioning best practices that you are following? Do you follow tracking systems? Do you have any dashboards for tracking the field work on real time? And you would believe like they were clueless. Initially, they were thinking that yes, there are no challenges. But when I asked them, when I deeper dive into their use case, then suddenly their no number of questions started coming up. They said, yeah, Maulik, I'm also facing this problem, that problem. All those different types of challenges started coming up. So for me, like I think like the first audience is there, and then I talk about solution. And if you're facing this type of problem, this is the solution. If you're facing this type of problem, this is the solution. And so thought process it is a bit vice versa, right? It's I'm not finding the audience. Basically, like the audience is there, and then we are finding the solution. If I have to give one simple example, a very very like on a lighter note. So when I was discussing this at this conference, and somebody just asked me that, hey Maulik, like, no, can I ask you a personal question? And I said, personal? I said, yeah, please go ahead. And he said, Maulik, are you married? I said, yeah, but it has nothing relevant with data collection and challenges. And he said, like, do you have kids? I said, but why are you asking this question? Then he said, Malik, I just wanted to know that would it be possible for you to come to our country? We just need you. And we wanted to know, like, how long you can stay in our country. And I was, in a way, I was happy, but at the same time, I also felt that, no, almost so many organizations are facing this type of challenges, but somehow they are not coming out and saying that, yes, like, these are the challenges we are facing. We need solution. And in last, after the first podcast, I have at least done maybe like 10 or 20 trainings. Same story. Same story with same organizations, similar organizations. So I think people are not just coming up. They are not sharing enough that yes, we are facing the problem. There are hundreds of solutions available. But that's the main problem. Yeah.
That's so true. I just wanted to touch on the more technical stuff because it's important to connect with the audience. It's important to understand who our audience is. It's important for them to understand why you are there, why they are adopting this new tool. Do you have any specific methods that helps you in these trainings to make technology accessible in a way? So we are talking about contexts where people are less tech savvy. So technology is something they're not very used to handling or using. What kind of methods do you use for that?
Okay. So couple of things I would like to share here. First of all, I think the biggest challenge that I have found is like to convince them to go for a training, right? Especially with the field teams and program teams. So there are so many barriers. So the first biggest barrier is like to convince them to adapt a new technology or to get trained to a new technology. Because, and we also understand with the field teams that constantly switching between newer and newer platforms, right? Every year or every 6 months, their management teams comes up with a new solution, and they say like, no, let's now adapt this. So if we see from their angle, that is, we understand it's very difficult, right? So I think the biggest challenge for us is like to convince the field teams and the program teams about, let's say, platforms like SurveyCTO, right? So I always like, sit with them, understand their use case, understand like what are the challenges that they are facing. Like, I also explain them that how platforms like SurveyCTO will help them, right? Help them, how it will make their lives easier, how it can save their time, right? And sometimes even I show them a demo, the example that I showed you, right? I show them the demo that this is how you can optimize your time, and that really boost them. Sometimes you won't believe, like, no, even I give them this example that, no, don't you like to have a peaceful sleep at night, right? Every day you are getting so many calls from the field that data is saying, not saying, no, I collected this much data, there were this many errors. So at the end of the day, you need a peaceful sleep, right? So first obstacle is like to convince the field teams and the program teams. Once they convince, then basically, like, if I share the example during the training, so usually what I do is like, no, I start with very small things like light and interactive icebreaker sessions, right? Where we just, sit for like 30 minutes just talking about their use cases, their challenges, right? Like, um, even, sometimes what we also do is we give very small things to them to start with. If I have to give an example, recently I was doing a training, and I just asked them that, hey, like, no, let's design your name, let's program your name and your village. So simple. And you won't believe, like, no, that guy, when he designed that name and village, and when he submitted the submission, and when saw it on the dashboard, he was like completely mesmerized. There was the aha moment for him. He said, "Oh wow, like, this is something that I have done." So I think small wins matters a lot, right? So if we go with this sort of small things, even with SurveyCTO, we start with drag and drop. Like, we directly do not jump on Excel. No, Excel also, like previously we were thinking that people are comfortable with Excel, but we started realizing that they're not so much comfortable directly with Excel. So we start with like drag and drop. Almost 30 to 40% of the time we start with drag and drop form builder. Once they are a bit confident, then we slowly and gradually move them towards Excel based programming. So
Finding a gradual learning
yeah,
curve makes a
yeah.
lot of sense.
And even when we talk about international organizations, and even in India also, like, there are so many languages that are spoken, right? So what we even do is like, we do lots of homework as well, right? So we also try to see that, which language they are more comfortable with, right? So uh, and we try to see that in our team, there are any if there are any trainers who can use that language, right? So once they start talking in their own language, the confidence really boosts up. So language is also very much important. So, there are a couple of things that we need to consider when we are training the less tech savvy people.
No, absolutely. And I've been witnessing the same. So it's really about the small things, adding a lot of interactivity and practical components into training. But the practical components needs to be relatable. So their name, their
Yeah.
village, or their specific project that they are very excited about.
And
So
how?
very, it really needs to be something that speaks to them, that resonates with them, that they can practice and they can see the usefulness of the product at the same time. Yes, and I'm really glad that you brought up the languages because I that's another challenge I feel. It's not only about not being very tech savvy, but it's also about uh, training diverse teams from different countries, different backgrounds, different knowledge levels, different languages. So that's another thing that we need to keep in mind.
Yeah.
Is there anything that you do specifically to make sure that you are accounting for all of this diversity?
Before training, actually, if I have to share something, like, we do lots of homework, right? So for me, homework at both levels are very much important. For me also, as a trainer also, and also for the participants, right? What homework we usually do is like, we actually first understand who the cohort is, right? What is their background, like, what is their background. We also do a pre-test. So in the pre-test, we understand their Excel knowledge, like, how much familiar are they with Excel things, right? And like, from which background they are coming. Are they from the MNE, or they are just field team members, right? Or are they from the senior management? What are the challenges that they are facing from the field with the tech development, like how much comfortable they are with any other tech platforms, right? So we do something similar to a needs assessment, right? So and this is something which is also very much underestimated, that I personally think. I have seen that no people even don't care. They directly go on the training day. They don't know, they don't do the homework that who the audience is. And because of this, during the training, you start realizing that no, that something is not working, right? So we ensure that we do all this homework, right? We sit with them, we understand them, we have a pre-test, their Excel, that data collection challenges, everything. Then we actually create an image of those type of participants, and then based on that, we start designing the training. We also ask them to share their survey questionnaires with us, right? So during the training, also we give the examples from their own tools, so they are more comfortable. And so yes, like this homework is very much important, right? Without homework, without this, I would say this needs assessment study before the training, you just cannot handle the training. It is not negotiable. It's mandatory.
That makes a lot of sense. I want to take a step back because you mentioned at the beginning of this question that the biggest challenge is really to convince the trainees, the participants to come to the training. Otherwise, a training is not effective if people are there, but they don't want to be there, obviously. So, I really want to talk about how important it is for an organization to internally prepare for this before a training. It's interesting because the organization is the one that is making the decision of adopting a new tool, right? But an organization is a lot of people. You have the people that make the decision, but then you have the people that actually uses the tool, that are in the field, and they are the ones that are being affected in a way, normally in a positive way, but it is a journey. So I would love to discuss with you, how do you think an organization should internally prepare themselves when they are thinking about adopting a new tool?
So very similar to my reply uh, about how we are convincing the field teams, how much difficult it is to convince the field teams. So for them also, it is so much difficult to convince the field teams, because again, very much similar that every few months they are getting newer and newer platforms. So from a organization perspective, they have to share that why we are doing this thing, right? What is the benefit to them, right? How the new platform, let's say SurveyCTO, can help them getting high quality data from the field, right? How you can remotely monitor all the survey work, right? You don't need to go here and there in the field. If you integrate, let's say, audio audit or text audit or even GPS coordinates, you can sit in your office and you can remotely monitor everything, centrally monitor everything, right? So they have to do. So we also come on the second position, right? The first position is like them, like they have to first convince their team. So from my angle, like for them, it is very much difficult, right, to convince. So they have to do much more homework than us. They have to total all the points that why service CTO, right? Especially like highlighting the points that how it is going to make your lives easier, right? No need to carry tons of papers, right? No need to learn so many skip conditions. No need to learn so much, constraints and so much training information. Like everything is in front of you, right? The software will automatically guide them. And this is about the data collection, the same logic for data monitoring as well, right? Just sit in the office and you can monitor everything centrally. Once they convince them with this way, I think then we come into the picture, and then our task relatively becomes easier.
And maybe that process can be made throughout the decision making process. So, a lot of times, field work teams, they just want to be heard. So
Yeah.
potentially it is important for people that are making the decisions to make sure that they are,
Yeah.
listening to the struggles,
Yeah.
the pain points that are
Yeah.
going on in the field, so that from the beginning they understand that they are making a decision to make their lives easier. They are making a decision based on the struggles and pain points. They are making a decision that is good for everyone, right?
I would like to add one more example, very much similar. Recently, we were doing we were proposing a training, and we were also proposing SurveyCTO to that organization. And that organization was saying that, Maulik, sorry, like our field is not going to adopt this. So I told them that, okay, let me create a demo form for you, for your field team, and just ask them to fill up this form in the field, right? Nothing attachments, just like 10, 15 questions, that's it. So they were given this task for 2 days. And after 2 days, I just asked them to give the feedback, and all the field teams were like, "Oh wow, which is this platform?" And like they were asking the management that, "Hey, like, have we procured this platform?" And they say, "No, no, we are thinking about why we have not procured this platform." Right. So basically, what we did is like, instead of convincing them through verbally, like we just create a demo for them and just ask them to go to the field and collect some data. So they were directly comparing it with the existing, whether it's pen or paper or some XYZ platform. So that also worked a lot. And then they procured services, then we added training and all those things.
That makes so much sense. And the other thing that I think is quite important is thinking that when you are adopting a new tool, it's going to be a journey.
Yes,
We come in for training, and the training has like a period of time, but the journey is way bigger than that. You need to think
yes.
about the medium, long term, you need to think about so many things. So I think it's also important to think about how internally you can get ready to adopt this new tool and to help everyone to adopt this new tool. And something that I've been witnessing as something that is effective is one, and Malik, you know this better than I do, is adopting the tool in a gradual way. So do a pilot first, right? Don't just start adopting the new tool in every single project. Start with a small pilot, see how it goes, try to learn from that. I don't know if you want to share anything about that.
So my favorite word with the pilot is test your tools before testing your people. So yeah, test your tools before testing your people. Pilots are again mandatory and non-negotiable. It's zero negotiable because you have to know in two fronts: how is the tool that you have programmed, and how is your survey questionnaire, right? How are the skips? How are the constraints? How are the logics? How are the calculations, right? So you have to work on both the fronts, right? So without pilot, you cannot just you just cannot imagine, like, uh, how fatal can it be if something goes wrong. Because imagine you have hundreds of team members, right? Your rollout, and suddenly, like, some of the skip conditions are not matching, and your team is not able to send the form. They're not able to continue. Imagine, like, 100 people in the team, like, yours every day will cost you like thousands of dollars. So I always say that, no, first test the tools and then test your people, right? Now do maximum pilots, right? Go to the field, and not only in the office. No, first layer is obviously office mockups or office pilots. That is the first layer. Basically, you test it on your laptop or on your mobile. That's the first mock pilot. But then you also do pilots in the field. You understand what is the context, right? What type of different responses you are getting from the field, right? And then only you do the final data collection. Yeah. So yes, like, it's non-negotiables. Yeah.
And the other thing that I've seen very effective is, especially for big teams, have power users internally. We will
Yes.
never be able to train everyone in the
Yes.
organization, especially because you have staff turnover. You will always
Yep.
have new people coming.
Yep.
So try to appoint one, two people to be the points of contact for that tool.
Yes.
They are the power users, they are the ones that know everything, and they can support internally everyone else. So creating a support system internally for that.
Yes, yes, I completely agree with you that no, I usually tell them that these are digital champions, right? These are the champions in the team, right? And see, it's a so basically practice makes man perfect, right? So basically, like no, if you have learned something and then if you're teaching to your other fellow members, you become expert, right? And that person, that no, that digital champion is a part of that team. So when the trainer is not there, right? He or she will be the person who will handle the situation, right? So I think yes, like there are this type of champions in the team, and sometimes what we do is like we create groups, and each group has a sort of like digital champion, and then that champion trains the other group members. Every team is different, right? No one cannot have like all the 11 players in a team same, right? There will be some people with lesser IT background, some will higher pace.
Exactly. Well, like I have so many other questions for you. I think we could speak for hours, but we don't have that amount of time. So I just want to ask you, we discussed a lot of training related topics. Is there anything else that you think is crucial for us to discuss today?
This training is not only about tools, right? It's also about people, right? Basically, like the goal should be to empower them, right? Build their confidence and create a data driven culture, right? So when we talk about suppose SurveyCTO, right? SurveyCTO or digital data collection platform, right? That should not be the only challenge that they are facing, right? There are also many other challenges that they are facing, right? So we need to create a system where we are able to solve different challenges of them, right? So my thought process here is that we should think about a broader context, right? To create a data driven decision ecosystem, right? And service it is one of the component of that. There are also many other things which we should cover during the trainings. So yeah, data collection is there, then like no visualizations is there, qualitative data collection is there, data cleaning is there, data management is there, lots of aspects, even as simple as Excel, right? You won't believe if I have to give an example. Many organizations have even reached out to me for Excel training. I said, like, no, there are hundreds of thousands of videos on YouTube. There are so many free courses. Why you want me to train? But they said, no, Maulik, like, no, we need you to train. And you won't believe, like, they're asking me for some charts, training on Excel charts. So sometimes we also underestimate, we always think about big technologies, big tech savvy and all those things. But we should also think that everyone is not on the same page, right? No, there are also many people who even are not familiar with even basics of Excel. So yeah, like the only aim should be to make a data driven ecosystem.
That's such a good point. Very inspiring because really conducting a data collection project is a cycle and
Yes.
there is like a skill set required that is not only about data collection. There are so many
Yes.
other things that are important when you are collecting data to analyze your data to make sure it's high quality, but also to analyze it depending on the purpose of your project for monitoring purposes or for
Yeah.
impact
Yeah.
assessments.
Yeah, and even for trainings also, like no, I always say that training should not end with the last slide, right? It should be continuous throughout the year exercise, like create Google groups or WhatsApp groups, but you know, continuous assessment should happen, continuous training should happen, right? It should not just end with the last slide. So that is also very much important because otherwise what would happen is like no, you have invested 3 days time in the training. After 3 days, 5 days, everything is gone. Right. So I think that is also very much important.
I also loved how you mentioned that maybe Excel, but sometimes we think that Excel is so basic. It's not. Excel can be quite complex. And
Exactly.
it's really the adoption of a new tool is really about if it makes sense, if it is sustainable, then that's all good. We don't need to be very fancy about the
Yeah.
technology we use. It just really needs to make sense for everyone and address the needs of your projects. That's all.
Exactly. So basically, one should be having an open arms to adapt technologies. That's the simple thing I would like to say.
Is there any resources that you want to share with our listeners?
So usually, like because considering this podcast theme, I would suggest two types of resources. One, if you want to really learn about best practices for data collection, right? Best practices for data collection, best practices for digitizing your tools, then I think SurveyCTO support articles are the best, right? I always refer to the SurveyCTO support articles whenever I am finding any issues. So I think the guides, and it's not only about how to program, but also explain the use cases, right? And where exactly you can use this. So I think for best practices related to data collection, digitization, SurveyCTO support articles are the best. And on the second front, if you're talking about research, survey design, research methodology, M&E, and all those things, then we all follow JPAL, IPA, then even this open knowledge repository of World Bank. That is also very interesting resource where you can find lots of research related articles. So like two things, research related articles with JPAL, IP, World Bank, and related to digital data collection, best practices for data collection, high quality data collection, service support guides. Otherwise, you can refer ChatGPT as well if you want to have something more specific. But otherwise, everyone follows this standard resources.
Yeah, perfect. We are going to make sure that we'll link those resources in the episode description to our listeners. Well, Maulik, thank you so much for being here.
My pleasure, and thank you so much, Martha, for having me as a guest again. It's always a pleasure to be with in this podcast and again sharing the platform with you. So thank you so much. Again, really appreciate all this podcasting. Thank you so much.
That just about wraps up today's episode with Maulik. Today, Maulik and I discussed training teams when adopting a new tool. And within that, we discussed the importance of helping teams understanding why they need to adopt a new tool, the power of connection and empathy in effective training, and how organizations should prepare for adoption. Find links to Maulik's recommendations in our episode notes, and don't forget to subscribe. Survey and Beyond, the Data Collection Podcast, is brought to you by SurveyCTO. To find out more about SurveyCTO and how it ensures reliable, secure, and scalable data collection, visit www.surveycto.com. And make sure to search for Survey and Beyond, the Data Collection Podcast in Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or anywhere else podcasts are found. Make sure to click subscribe so you don't miss any future episodes. On behalf of the team here at SurveyCTO, thanks for listening.